Hey everyone, it's Dan, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through the Tomb Raider Collectible card game official rules. So over the last few weeks I've been going through the rulebooks and transcribing them into a format that works well for me, and I'll be sharing a link to that document down in the comments below. There's going to be a series of videos that I'm going to be making for the Tomb Raider card game, going over how the different cards work, what all the different kinds of cards are, and then how you can actually construct your deck and play, both multiplayer and solo play. Hopefully I got everything right, but please let me know down in the comments if there's anything you think I should add. I'll be adding a series of videos to the Tomb Raider card game playlist. For now, in this video, we're going to cover the different kinds of cards and sort of basic information on the card game, and then in the next video we'll start looking at how to actually get set up and beginning a game. So let's get started by having a little chat about what the game actually is. In the Tomb Raider collectible card game, you'll be playing as Lara Croft or another adventurer, going through a cave system or tomb system, defeating obstacles on your way, collecting items, and with your final goal of making it to the end of the cave and getting the treasure. There are different locales that you can be exploring. In this deck here, I've got an Atlantean setup, so it's all Atlantis-based areas. In the quest decks, you'll find tombs and caves, and then there's also additional areas in the other expansions, Slippery When Wet and Big Guns. I will say that the card game is surprisingly faithful to the video games. Obviously, this game is from 1999, so it came out around the time of Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation, I believe, or maybe just after Tomb Raider 3. And it definitely goes all in on the original Tomb Raider formula. You know, you are exploring these caves and you are fighting off things like bats and Atlantean mummies and things like that. It's actually a really great nostalgic game for anyone who still has nostalgia for the original Tomb Raider games. It's especially cool that the cards have artwork from the original games, so you can see here on the bats card that you've got Lara fighting some bats in Tomb Raider 1, and then there's also some cards with custom artwork such as the Raider cards, which look really cool as well. So in terms of nostalgia, the game gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Before you jump in and get started buying some loose cards, I would highly recommend that you buy at least one constructed quest deck before you do that. There's going to be some items that you're going to need in order to play the card game, and they are all found inside these quest decks. This one here is Neptune's Fury, which is part of the Slippery When Wet expansion, but there are also 3 others. I've unboxed all of them on the channel, so check them in the playlist, but here is an image of all of them on the screen. In a quest deck, you'll find the following items. You'll have a 50 card deck, sleeves not included. I've already sleeved these ones. You will get 2 small 6-sided dice, a small Lara Croft miniature figure to represent your Raider, a sheet of game pieces, which you will definitely need to play the game. These game pieces include skull icons to represent when something has been defeated, arrows to add to locations, as well as blocked arrows. You've got empty tokens to mark when a location is empty. You've got the various numbers here which represent an injury on your character's test abilities, which we will be looking at later on. Got these green circles, which honestly I don't know what they are for. If you do know, please let me know in the comments. I haven't found a use for them yet. Save crystals for when you're adding a save crystal to a location, and then hit markers for when your raider or a creature has been hit. You'll also get an instruction booklet. This is the Slippery When Wet version 1.1 rulebook, but you'll get the version 1.0 rulebook in the base set quest decks. You'll get a booster pack corresponding to the set the quest deck it's from, and then finally you will get a depth tracker, which is used for setting up the game world. Interestingly, the Slippery When Wet quest decks do not include a depth tracker, so if you need one of these, then it's probably best to get one of the original 2 quest decks. Now it's time to talk about all the different kinds of cards. So this isn't all of the cards, obviously there's quite a lot of cards. There are 209 base cards in the base set, and I believe another 209 in the Slippery When Wet expansion. Big Guns, I think it's like 150 or something like that. But we're going to have a look at one of each kind of card here. It's important to understand the different kind of cards and what they do before you start playing. So to start off with, we have the action cards, which are in blue. These would appear in your draw deck and you would have them in your hand, and that's where you would play them from. Generally, you can either immediately use the effects of the card, for example, luck of the draw says draw 2 cards, or alternatively you might have to meet some conditions before you can use them. For example, on this run card here, it says play at the end of your action round. If you encountered no obstacle at your location, move 1 more location you cannot search here. So action cards are kind of like instant cards that you will be playing exactly when you need them. Next are discovery cards. These are the cards that you will be searching for in the different locations, and you will be essentially treating these like rewards. There are 3 different types of discovery. We have item discovery, so for example we have the combat knife here. You have trigger discovery, which is something which would be used the moment you trigger it, like the Atlantean life amulet. And then you have companion discoveries, which were included in the Slippery When Wet expansion, which can get played alongside your unsaved item discoveries, and we'll be talking about saved and unsaved items later. But generally speaking, item discoveries are upgrades for your characters, trigger discoveries are things that will give you a boost in the moment, and then companions will just kind of follow you around like a parrot. Next are location cards. These are the cards that will be building the game world, and there are generally lots of different kinds of locations, but there are 3 special locations, I guess. So you've got the entrance cards. These are typically only found in the quest decks, and you need an entrance card in order to actually begin. So Tomb Entrance here is one of the entrance cards from one of the quest decks. Then you have regular location cards, like this is Giant Steps, it's an Atlantis location, and these will either have nothing printed on here, or maybe they'll have some kind of obstacle. So this one has a series of platforms you have to overcome. And then finally you'll have treasure rooms, which are basically the place where you'll be searching for the treasure in order to win the game. Usually there'll be only 1 treasure room per game. Next up we have treasure cards. So there would usually only be 1 treasure in the game, and this is what you will be searching for. So I've got here the Atlantean Scion because I've made an Atlantis deck. It just kind of made sense to me. Usually you would just find a treasure and that would be the end of the game, but if you plan on playing a series of games in a row, then you can keep a hold of the treasure and use its special ability. So for example, it says here, once per game, replace any creature obstacle on the level with any Atlantean creature obstacle from your hand with a danger rating no greater than the location's danger total +5. Lots of words there, but basically if you were playing a series, then you can use the treasure in the next game. Alternatively, some people have alternative rules where you not only have to get the treasure, you also have to bring it back to the entrance. In that case, you'd be able to use its ability as well. But generally speaking, it's just your prize for completing the mission. Next up are obstacle cards. So these can be used in one of 2 ways. If you're playing a multiplayer game, then when one of your opponents enters an unknown location, you could play an obstacle from your hand for them to overcome. So we've got here wolves and dart trap. Alternatively, if you are playing in solo play, then obstacle cards will be played on your location while you are going through. And there are 2 main kinds of obstacles. You have trap obstacles, so obviously they're just like objects, they're not creatures, they're just traps. And then things like wolves, they are creature obstacles, and these can actually be defeated. So you can see it says here 2 life, hit and stuck if failed. So those are the 2 kinds of obstacles. Next up are raider cards. These are the coolest looking cards in the set, in my opinion, maybe bar the secret moves. And when you are creating your deck, you will choose a raider to use in that deck. So for this deck, I'm going to be using Lara Croft Duelist, but there are also non-Lara Croft raiders. For example, we have the Cowboy here from Tomb Raider 1 as well, who looks pretty cool. We'll be coming to ability scores in a moment, but when deciding on which raider to have, take a look at these 4 numbers here. They represent the 4 different tests. So we've got fight, run, search, and think. And depending on your playstyle, you may want a raider that has different abilities. Next up, we have upgrade cards. These are more full art cards that can add upgrades to your raider. You will notice on the original raider cards, it says power 1 character. This is because you can power them up to 2 and 3 using the upgrade cards. So here we have Lara Croft Adventure, which is a power 2 upgrade, and then we have Lara Croft Millionaire, which is a power 3 upgrade. So when the conditions are met, you can play an upgrade card on your raider as long as you are only leveling it up by 1. So I couldn't put Lara Croft Millionaire straight on Lara Croft Duelist because I'd be going from 1 to 3, but I could put Lara Croft Adventurer on top of the Lara Croft Duelist and then play Lara Croft Millionaire on top of that later on, but only when the conditions are met. For example, Lara Croft Millionaire states play if you have at least 3 saved items, and again we'll come back to save items in another video. Your starting raider must be Lara Croft, another condition, And this gives you think ability +1. If you use and discard a saved item, make a search test with that item's difficulty. If you succeed, you keep the item, but it is no longer saved. So some additional abilities that can help you out in gameplay. And then finally, we have secret move cards. These are the ultra rare cards that only appear in, I think, 1 in 13 booster packs, something like that. So these are not necessary in order to play. The quest decks don't include secret move cards, but they can add additional abilities to your gameplay. For example, we have the lock and load card here. And this card said, discard any 2 identical cards from your hand to ready any weapon that requires ammo. So that's pretty cool. It's a pretty useful ability, and there are 9 secret move cards per set. I have about, I think, 5 or 6 from the base set, so I'm still missing a few, but I don't actually have any of these in my decks because they're not really necessary in order to play. So those are all the different kinds of cards, and when it comes to constructing a deck, we'll be covering that in the next video. A deck will consist of different things. You'll have your locations, which are going to be used for actually building the world, and then you'll be having a combination of obstacles, actions, discoveries to build out the rest of your deck, as well as your raider and your upgrades. So we'll cover that on the next video. This is all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd be interested in more videos like this, please click the subscribe button down below and give me a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed this video.